Welcome to SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Michael Schneider from Variety, and thank you so much for joining us. Before we begin with our fantastic guests, I want to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a nonprofit organization that relies entirely on donations to provide emergency assistance and free educational programs to SAG-AFTRA artists. This conversation is made possible today courtesy the generosity of our supporters. Over the past year, the foundation has given more than $6.5 million in COVID relief to more than 7,000 performers. If you're a SAG-AFTRA artist and need help, please ask. And if you can help, please give. Information can be found in the description of this video. Thank you so much for your support. And now, let's talk a little Superstore. We got the Superstore superstars here with us today. Without further ado, let me bring them out. Hello, everyone. First up, we got the one and only Ben Feldman. Of course, Jonah.
Hello.
Ben, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Everybody sit down. It's fine. It's fine.
Lauren Ash, who dressed for the occasion as Dina.
Thank you very much. Again, I'm feeling Dallas, maybe. Colton mentioned designing women, which is a compliment. I love it.
Yeah, I think that the spin-off vibes, I'm already feeling it.
Yes, please.
Nico, of course. Nico is Mateo. Nico, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
The one and only Colton Dunn is Garrett.
One and only,
The one and only. Of course, Cheyenne herself, Nichole Sakura. Nichole, welcome.
Hello. Lovely to be here.
And finally, the real boss of us all as Sandra.
Boss baby.
Kaliko Kauahi. Kaliko, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I'm still sort of post-sad. I'm still sort of feeling the emotion, all the feels, as the kids say. Do the kids still say that? I don't know. From the finale, it's now been a couple of months, and so you guys saw the reaction, very positive. People really felt like this was a satisfying end. That's hard to do. Most of these shows, people are bitching and moaning for months afterwards about, but it does feel like you guys sort of like stuck the landing. You got it. I mean, Ben, what was sort of your feeling in sort of looking at how people reacted to this finale and how they sort of felt, really, really good about how this all ended?
I was delighted. I mean, everybody that you're looking at and all of the other people worked tirelessly to make sure that the finale, that the show kind of ended the way that we wanted it to end, and that we sort of we gave everybody kind of what they were looking for. I think this show, for a long time, one of the sort of major elements of its DNA is that it's kind of subversive and doesn't always give you what you want. It'll lead you down one road and then say, just kidding, you're not getting any of that. We're going to land on a fart joke instead or something. And I think this was an opportunity for us to say, to kind of write a love letter or a thank you note, really, to the fans, to the people stuck with us for 6 seasons, and make sure that kind of everybody left with the feels. And a lot of thought and a lot of work went into sticking that landing right. And there was a ton of rewrites and there was a billion discussions, and it was super collaborative. So I think we're all pretty proud of it. I mean, most of us. I know Kaliko is really disgruntled.
Too late now.
Well, Lauren, what did you think? I mean, in terms of happy endings, this is a show that, like Ben mentioned, it was subversive. There were moments where there weren't happy endings, but this sort of gave, I think, people a little bit of they're hoping. They fell in love with these characters, including Dina, and to see them sort of carry on and to imagine that, she's there at the fulfillment center, still, bossing around Sandra and everyone else. It's like the show does still live on.
Yeah, I think people really, one of the things that made Superstore so successful, I think, was the characters, and people just really responded to these characters very early on. They became very invested in the characters, invested in the relationships on the show. And I think more than anything, when some shows end and they get canceled and they, and then they don't get a chance to come back and really kind of tie things up in a pretty little bow of a finale, I think that a lot of viewers kind of feel that feeling of like, but wait a minute, these people that I've spent so much time with, like, what are they doing? Are they okay? And I think what was so nice about our finale was, even though some of it is still kind of left nebulous and you don't necessarily know all the specifics, that last little bit, which is hard for me to even talk about without crying, but that last little bit in that barbecue leaves that feeling of everything is going to be okay. And even though they've lived in the world that all of us have lived in, they've been through all the things that we've gone through in real life as well. They've been through COVID, all these things. These characters are going to continue. They're going to continue in each other's lives. And we know that they're going to be successful and happy. And that doesn't mean their lives are going to be perfect, but we know that ultimately they're going to be okay. And I think that this was one of the rare occasions where you kind of got to see that on a TV show. I think sometimes the finales don't really leave you with that feeling. And I think that's part of the reason why people really responded to the finale, was that it created that feeling of like really closing the book and going, okay, I'm sad that we don't get to see them every week anymore, but I know that they're going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what fan fiction is for, right?
100%. Yeah. Very dirty.
Of which we have a plenty.
Yeah, we've read some, and it's a whole other world.
Well,
I mean,
Nico,
we filmed the. Oh, sorry, you were just about to ask me something as I was.
we were on the same wavelength. So why don't you go
mouth.
first, and then I'll ask you my question.
Well, I was gonna say, we filmed the last season through such extraordinary circumstances. There was a pandemic going on. We certainly didn't know that this was going to be, that season 6 was going to be our last season. Our episode order had been reduced. So there was a lot of factors that really could have impacted the way the finale turned out to be. And of course, we would have loved to explore a lot more stories and had more stories to tell, definitely. But I think given all those circumstances, kudos to everybody involved in the show, our writing staff, most especially, for creating a finale that the fans and audiences really took to heart and really relished and enjoyed watching and got their neat little package given to them in a pretty little bow, like Lauren was saying.
Yeah. Well, what I always, obviously, what the fans loved about SUPERSTORE is just how real it was. And a good example for Nico, for Mateo is, yes, some things were wrapped up in a bow. We saw a hint that he had gotten married. And so obviously he's got a job working with Glenn and Cheyenne. But, there still is that question of his immigration status, which, I'm glad they didn't wrap that up in a neat bow, because that is such a difficult subject and an ongoing subject that, I'm sure Mateo is continuing to deal with in the alternative universe where SUPERSTORE is still going on.
Well, I mean, for Mateo and his undocumented status, there's just no happy ending for him. And that's just the reality of the way of how undocumented people in this country have to deal with their situation. That's just, there's no recourse for him. So, and it would be such a disservice to Mateo and to the characters that we portray. We portray these essential workers where 99% of the time there's just no better alternative for them. So it would have been really a disservice to the people that we portray if we decided to wave the magic TV wand and just made everything okay, because our show certainly didn't shy away from tackling issues like that head on. So we wanted to honor and respect the parameters of which we found ourselves, the situations we found ourselves in.
Yeah.
If I could just piggyback really quickly off that, because if anybody wants to hear anybody talk about undocumented workers, it's probably me. But no, what I was going to say though is that we keep talking about the pretty little bow and the kind of happy endings that this show afforded the viewers, but ultimately all of those bows, all of the happiness was found within friendship and family and community. And personal lives. It wasn't, the show did not define success in a monetary or in a vocation sense. And I think that's what the show was really about, was sort of the drudgery of the American worker, the global worker, and how you have to find happiness and comfort and community in the people that are around you, despite whatever the sort of the other circumstances you find yourself in. And so I think it's important to remember that these people ended happy in their own communities with their friends or their family. But nobody won the lottery, like Roseanne did at the end of that show or whatever. There wasn't success in sort of a financial or workplace environment.
A Roseanne finale deep cut from Ben Feldman.
Roseanne won, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about celebrating these workers and also sort of getting to know these characters is also watching their growth. And for both Sandra and Cheyenne, to see them develop their voices and to watch these characters grow while also watching, Nichole and Kaliko, really attack these characters and really move into them and have so much fun with them and sort of growing these characters. It was a joy to watch over the years. I mean, Kaliko, I love in the final episode, Sandra, she's so bold, she puts AM by her name. I am the assistant manager. She's the one who tells Amy, you think you screwed this up? Sandra, I was joking at the beginning, kind of the voice of reason, but she ended up sort of being the consciousness of this store. That must have been a joy to sort of just, evolve this character and give Sandra so much more spunk and a voice toward the end of the run.
Yeah, the whole journey from the beginning to the end was so much fun and very unexpected for me. So to get to have a character that changes and grows so much, doesn't lose her core, but he starts to embellish who she is. And I feel like at the end, what it speaks to is her comfort with the group. She's finally, her real dream was to be actual friends with these people, and she tried so long to do it. And I think her feeling like she achieved that gives her an opportunity to have that moment with Dina where she's bold and also honest, but in the end still comes back to their dynamic where, she makes Dina's always in charge. And I think she had a lot of moments with all the different characters where you could see their acceptance of her grow over the seasons.
The one thing I'm sort of sad, I saw an interview with the producers where they said one storyline they would have evolved is Carol buying Sandra and Jerry's apartment building, which would have been amazing.
That would have been so hilarious because Irene White is fantastic and we have such a good time that season 7 would have been great as my landlord. Yeah, should have been great.
Yeah, that's like the Ropers. It's like the spinoff. It's let's just keep referencing old TV shows. But Nichole, Cheyenne, sadly there was talk, there was discussion of a Cheyenne and Bo spinoff, which I know
right.
Moving forward. But nonetheless, sort of how did you sort of leave your sort of take on Cheyenne and where she ended up at the end of the show?
I love that she ends up working with, her bestie Mateo again at Glenn's new store. I thought that was awesome. And yeah, just like you were touching on before, kind of her growing into this, greater sense of authority, power. She starts questioning, the people at the top, enough to call Amy to ask her, is this person who's coming in, is this really, kosher? What I just thought that was cool that she finally took it upon herself to start questioning things and yeah, sticking up for herself. Like that one scene with Dina where, Dina's basically like, yeah, I'll make you, floor supervisor and you're just gonna follow what I say. And she's like, no, that's not okay.
Right.
So I thought that was a really great turn for her because prior to that, I was just very used to seeing Cheyenne kind of, not take things very seriously and just always having fun and not thinking about the macro and the bigger picture within the store. So I really like that her journey, included her really growing up in that way.
Yeah, and I imagine you were sort of almost felt protective of the character in the end. I mean, she was so young and sort of naive at the start of the show, and watching that evolve was fun.
Yeah, well, it was also mirrored my own personal journey, to be totally honest, coming onto this show feeling very green and new as an actor and in this environment where people were so seasoned and professional and I just felt art imitates life and the writers, they pick up on these things and they just kind of write to sometimes I feel like they really pick up on what's going on with us personally and so yeah, I definitely look back on younger Cheyenne and it's looking back on my younger self, to be honest. Yeah.
Colton, you got the coda of the series. You got the emotional speech that sort of ended.
Bring us in, take us out, baby. That's what I do.
Talk about shooting that, and was it emotional? Was it hard to kind of get through that, or you're a professional? I know.
Yeah, buddy, I'm a professional. It wasn't. It wasn't challenging to, read the lines, but it was an emotional moment. It was not, reading the sort of the last announcement that I did. It wasn't the last thing we shot, but I think we all knew this was the last thing that we were going to really hear. And so, there's a little bit also a level of difficulty to make sure that I don't screw it up so much that they go, oh, we got to figure something else out to take us out of here. But, it was, and, a lot to, what Nichole just said is, and if you listen to that speech, it's just very personal to me too. And I think everybody on the show, what Garrett says about the people that you meet where, who you work with and the experiences that you have with those people is really what it's all about. And that's what it was about this show. I think all of us, moved on to, to some other things, and we're doing other stuff. But, we're always going to have, I think we're going to take with us this incredible work environment that we lived in and that we worked in, and we're going to bring it to the other productions and other things that we do. And it's going to be a positive thing. I see a lot of success for everybody who worked on this show because they were part of such a well-oiled, well-running machine. And so, when I was reading through that thing, it wasn't difficult for me to do the lines, to hit hit the marks or whatever, as it were. That's something I've been doing every week for the last 5 years. But emotionally, it was definitely I could tell from the reaction of the people who were in the store at the time that it was resonating in the moment just as much as it does on screen.
Yeah.
Colton, do you have a cold right now, or are you actually starting to cry? It sounds like you might be crying right now.
And
it's fine. You could just turn the video off if you want.
It's okay. I was crying all morning, so I'm all out of tears.
That scene was really hard to film. Ruben Fleischer, the EP and the director of the last episode, got our reactions to Colton's speech, and even though it was just Mike, our AD, reading Colton's lines, and Ruben was getting our reactions. Lauren and I talked about this. We were fully just a mess trying to get through.
They couldn't use any of my coverage. You'll notice when they go around the store in that scene at the end, and it's during his speech, you don't see Dina in the store. Why? Because I was a blubbering mess and could not pull it together. And they basically just eventually were like, okay, it's good.
Fix it in post.
Send her back. Send her back to her room.
The second day of shooting, I think, that week or something. It was hard. That was a rough week to have to go through.
Well, that fits in with Dina becoming a little more of a softie. She and Garrett think things seem to be working out as they're hanging and banging as were.
Well, fun fact, I believe, I don't think it's in the scene that we shot, but at one point we knew that we didn't have any lines during that barbecue scene. And so we were trying to think of something fun to do, a little Easter egg for the fans. And so I downloaded a sonogram picture on my phone. And we tried to pretend we were showing Jonah and Amy a picture of our sonogram child.
They didn't let us keep doing that, is the point.
They didn't let us do it, but it's canon because I just said it.
Yeah. Again, I've seen the producers hint at maybe that would be part of the future. So you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
You mentioned the sort of the ensemble aspect of it. As actors, shows like this don't come along every day where you're part of this big ensemble. What is that, especially since our audience watching this right now mostly made up of actors and performers? When you sort of come across a show like this where you develop these relationships, you're part of this larger sort of group, how does that inform just your craft and sort of what you do and sort of the kinds of decisions that you make, and also the future roles that you take once you've sort of experienced something like this? Is this like,
I think after we finished this, Ben said something about never again. He was like, never again. You know,
Only starring vehicles for Feldman.
Everyone else is a guest star. Maybe, you know, slightly reoccurring, but no regulars, just me.
That was the day I realized not to have conversations with my agent on set, because people are going to hear everything that you're saying. No, yeah. I mean, I think every one of us walked away better at everything that we do. I think everybody walked away funnier, a better actor, a better listener, a better improver. You know, everybody came away. It was a masterclass. I think being in an ensemble, especially with an ensemble with this many talented people, it's impossible not to come away a stronger performer. And I think that's a really fulfilling experience to be on a show like that. Before I did this show, I was on a two-hander that was just about like a relationship, and I did say never again. Then I said I don't want to be on one of those shows where there's just like this romance and then these like friends that are just there to serve the like center. I was like, I want to be on an ensemble. I want to learn from other people that are better than me and that are funnier than me. And for better or worse, that's what ended up happening. Because I do genuinely feel like I walked into a room full of, you know, 6 or 7 or 8 of the funniest, most talented people I know, and learned from them every single day for 6 years.
Yeah. How about the rest of you? Was there any sort of thing that you feel like you really learned as an actor coming out of Superstore that?
Well, I'll say in going back and watching a lot of the episodes, I feel like, you know, being on the show, it's easy to get so like kind of tunnel vision with your own storylines, your own, you know, relationships with the other characters. And just to realize like how truly full the whole world of Superstore is, and as a viewer you really get to appreciate that. And I think like if I was to do another show like Superstore where we do have all these characters, I think that I'd maybe make a more, you know, kind of conscious effort, I guess, to keep tabs on what's going on with everyone all the time. And I will say, like, I think Lauren is always really good at that. Like, Lauren, you always seem to know what's going on in all the aspects of the Superstore world. And I think that that's a real, like, I don't know, maybe it just takes practice, skill, just like, you know,
Lauren,
going over and reading the scripts again and again. And yeah, so that was a lesson that I've learned, I think.
Yeah, well, Lauren, I mean, it's when you look at this cast, and then they would even bring in new characters sometimes, and they would sort of like immediately sort of, you know, gel with the rest too. I mean, what was sort of really special about this show is just the number of even supporting characters that you all got to play off of. And we saw Kaliko rise to regular, which was awesome. So that was part of the fun of it too, was seeing you all work with even the guest stars, the supporting characters, the folks who maybe weren't, top billed, but yet could have some really amazing moments. What was that like for you?
I think, in general, I remember reading, this is so nerdy, but I remember reading a review of an improv show once, and it was like, improv troupes are only as good as their weakest member. But when you get into a group where there's no weak members, that's when you can see some really good improv. And I apply that to this, where it's like, I don't think it's about necessarily like the size of the roles that other people had. What always amazed me was that people kept coming onto the show, and I was like, God, they're not casting any duds. Like, it was amazing, just the caliber of people that would come in. We would have people even come in, doing 1 or 2 line roles that were so funny.
A couple duds. There are a couple duds.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? I think the ratio was exceptionally high, because I've done other shows where the ratio was not that high. And I think, you want me to name names? It's not the time.
Well,
anyway.
Lauren, no, Lauren, I will. But Lauren, Paul Walter Hauser, who's like a giant star now, was just like a guy that wanted toilet paper for like half a scene once. And like, I remember my wife watching the show and going, that guy, you guys did not deserve that guy. That guy is incredible.
He's great.
I was just going to say, so many of our co-stars and guest stars have gone on to be series regulars and stars in their own right. It's amazing.
The Pharmacist won an Academy Award award.
Yeah, like this is what I'm talking about. Like we attracted a pretty good caliber of actors in general, and I think that is what makes like that's what makes the intangible quality. That's what makes the like, and I think it was also the openness of the main cast too, because you hear horror stories in Hollywood, whether people want to admit it or not, about ego and about somebody perhaps wanting more pages or screen time or lines or not wanting to share the scene. And I think every main cast member on this show never approached a scene that way. It was just about playing the scene, playing the jokes, finding the funniest version, working together, and really, truly just creating the funniest scenes and thus the funniest episodes possible. And I think that that's special. And I think that there are not a lot of examples of shows that started that way and maintained that through to the end. And I think we really did. I think it's really a testament to people just wanting the show to be the best possible show it can be, the funniest it can be, the most truthful to the characters it can be. I think that that's a unique quality of this show that is rare.
If I can speak to that as a new, since I went from like a 1-day co-star to a series regular, like that doesn't happen if the group that you're working with isn't obviously unbelievably talented, funny people, but everyone was just so welcoming and open and wanted everyone to do well and be funny. And that's how I think our family got to grow so much, and you got to see characters, not just mine, but a lot of the other recurring characters really come into their own and become so interesting and nuanced. It's because these guys and the writers, everybody created this space where everyone could do their best work, and they encouraged it. And no one was like, I want that. We never really had I don't have any lines. Everyone was like, oh yeah, give it to them. That works better. So that, I think the environment of working on this show is probably one that I'll try to seek out from here on out. I don't know that I'll ever have that again, but I'll dream of it.
Sorry, Michael, you were saying something before Kaliko interrupted you?
No.
Oh, no.
Let Kaliko talk. No, I sort of wanted to, looping back to this past year, because the other thing that you all are going to sort of take away from this final year experience was shooting the show in a pandemic while also depicting the pandemic. And that must have been so surreal for all of you, and something that you'll take away, I'm sure, from this, and that being surrounded by COVID protocols, but also depicting them and depicting essential workers, and that must have been challenging, surreal, but also something that you sort of learned a lot from over the past year. I mean, what was sort of maybe perhaps the most challenging thing in pulling off this final season in these circumstances?
Trying to sneak all that hand sanitizer off a set. That was tough.
All the toilet paper that you could grab.
It was really, I think this season there was a really interesting energy that happened when, I hate to say that in some sort of weird, messed up way, we benefited from the awful situation that was happening, but there was there was sort of a concentrated energy that forced everybody to work extra hard and to focus on telling exactly the right story at the right time and to get it right. I think depicting this story on television is really difficult. People don't want to see people covered in masks all the time. We're writing, there's a lag between when we shoot and when it airs. So it's like, will people want to see this? Will people be annoyed by this? Will people want to escape this? And ultimately we decided, no, first of all, we have to honor the people that we're portraying, these incredible people who were just these like funny grocery store workers when we all were shooting season 5, and then COVID happened and we wrapped and we all ran back to our houses and postmated Chinese food to our basements for a year and a half. All the people that we played in real life were actually out there risking their lives all the time. And so we owed it to them to kind of tell their stories, and to get it right. And if you want to escape, if you want to watch a show and you're tired of what's happening in reality, there's a million of those. There's dragons, there's sci-fi, there's cop shows, there's people with no masks, whatever. But I think what we did as a show was we held up a funny mirror. We said, we're going to show you everything that you kind of go through, the trials and the tribulations and the drudgery of American life, American middle-class life. But we're going to say, we're going to allow you to have fun with it, to laugh at it. We're going to say, look, we're laughing at this. You can see yourself on television, feel represented, and laugh along with it. And I think the only way to do that was to get the COVID story right and to get this pandemic right and to tell the story, not ignore it or shy away from it, but to lean into it.
Yeah. And it drove the stories, but yet it didn't dominate the stories. So that's how it still sort of lives on. And Nico, was there a difficult part for you in shooting this season, or was it?
I mean, this whole past year was very difficult. Shooting a show in the middle of a pandemic, having lost a lot of people because of the pandemic. It was sort of a surreal situation to be in. But I'm just really proud of our entire team. Like, we didn't get shut down once. Everybody just sort of banded together, and we're like, we are gonna make a show. I think everybody in our crew and our cast knew the tremendous privilege that we had, that we were able to go back to work, and when a lot of people lost their livelihoods, and we were given a chance to do what we love and entertain people. And we didn't take that responsibility lightly. So I'm just really happy that we were able to bring that last season to the people in the midst of all the craziness that was happening. And we all got through it better people, I think.
Well, I mentioned that the producers have sort of dropped these various clues on things that could have happened at the end, or things that might have happened with your characters down the road. So I'm going to quickly go around the round robin and sort of get your take on the thing that you wanted to see, or the thing that you heard that might happen to your character that we didn't get a chance to see, but you sort of maybe hoped in an alternative world it did happen. Colton, was there anything in particular with Garrett that comes to mind, besides having a kid with Dina? I think I read somewhere that maybe Garrett gets his dream job at GameStop.
Yeah, that would have been great to see him, or at least see him cash in on that GameStop stock. Yeah. That would have been great. Would love to do that. I always wanted to see Garrett's house. He had a ridiculous amount of shoes. And a lot of them got burned, but then he started rebuilding his collection. So I just always wanted to see what Garrett's apartment looked like. Jonah had stayed there for a while. Yeah. And so it would have just been kind of fun to check it out. But to be quite honest, I don't have too many regrets or things that I feel like couldn't have been done personally.
Yeah. Lauren, how about you? More and more birds in Dina's future? Or?
I think we got to see Dina's dad. We got to see her nemesis, Colleen. The one person that I wish we would have been able to meet was her sister, because there was so many references to Dina's sister for 6 years and how much she absolutely hated her sister. So that's one thing that I would have really liked to have done. And then the other
Who would have played her?
Susan Sarandon.
I was pitching Darcy Carden to come and play her sister.
That would have been great.
Which would have been great, right? But yeah, that's something I would have loved to see. And then the other two things that I always tried to get in as canon for 6 years and never did, and I wish we could have. One, that Dina had a military background but never got in. Like, she was someone who just kept getting rejected for some reason and wanted it so bad. And two, that she and Amy actually went to high school together, and that reveal would come out and we'd get to see a flashback of them in high school together. Those are the two dreams I always had that never got realized.
That would have been a twist. That would have been a twist.
Yeah.
Kaliko, how about Sandra? We mentioned Carol buying the apartment. Anything else that you wish we would have seen?
I mean, she already started her family, sort of impromptu family, one day. And I just imagine her like becoming the new Glenn, where she started just love fostering kids and adopting kids and adult kids and having them in her circle. But I think she's so fulfilled. My main thing was that I wanted her and Dina and Sandra to continue their relationship. I think it would be great to see them in this new capacity, and her as an assistant manager, like she almost peers, but not quite. Like, that would have been great to see.
And Nichole, there was a chance we might have seen more of Cheyenne, but we're
Well, we never got to meet Corona, which was like crazy, but I guess the producers felt like it was a little bit too, sensitive to make a joke out of my friend named Corona. I really wanted Ariana Grande to play her. So, whatever. If we have a movie reunion, maybe that could happen.
There you go.
Yeah. So that was something that I missed out on. And then also her 21st birthday, rave that was, again, also stopped because of Corona. It would have been even more epic after the pandemic. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Those two things.
Nico, how about
Well, Mateo got engaged at the end of towards the end of season 6, and I wish that we had time to explore that wedding, because Mateo as Bridezilla would have been such fun episodes to really shoot. And I wish we had met more of his family. Filipinos tend to come from really large, crazy families, and I really, really wish we got to meet more than just Tita Irma in throughout the seasons, and really got to explore his whole family life.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Ben, one of the other things the producers mentioned was maybe Jonah runs against Josh Hawley for Missouri.
I mean, to a degree, by the way, to a degree, we got to see the Politico side of Jonah. We got to see the amount of harassing that America and I did during the trajectory of the final episodes to the producers and the writers, and all of the things that we begged for, or we just spent weeks pleading for certain things. And I think we got a lot. So I wouldn't be caught dead complaining about feeling like I missed out on anything. Any loose ends. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the viewers were happy too. So again, thank you, all of you. It's always a pleasure to see all of you. Hopefully, Superstore lives on. Colton, Nico, Lauren, Kaliko, Nichole, Ben, always a pleasure. Best to all of you. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here at the SAG-AFTRA Foundation.
All right.
Michael Schneider from Variety. We'll see you next time.
Have a heavenly
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you.